call the public hearing to order for the petition for the annexation for the village of K-Pac. Is there anybody here to speak on the petition for annexation? I have to say this 3 times to make it official. Is there anybody here wanting to speak on the petition for annexation? Is there anybody here that would like to speak on the petition for annexation? Seeing none, public hearing is closed. Let's stand for the pledge, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Commissioner Smasko? Commissioner Baldwin?
Present.
Commissioner Beeden?
Present.
Commissioner Torello?
Here.
Commissioner Rushing?
Here.
Commissioner Vandenbosch?
Here.
Commissioner Chairperson Bone.
Here. Item 4, additions, deletions, changes to the agenda. Seeing none, could I get a motion for approval of the agenda?
So moved. Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Item 6, the minutes of previous meetings, A and B.
At this time, I'd like to make a motion to approve and file the minutes of the July 2023 commission meeting and the August 3rd, 2023 standing committee meetings.
Support.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Proclamation, seeing none. Item 8, consent agenda, items A through E.
This time I'd like to make a motion to approve items 8A through 8E on the consent agenda.
Support.
Discussion. Seeing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Reports of standing special committees. Georgia?
None tonight.
Lisa?
None tonight.
Mr. Vandenbosch?
Nothing.
Cheap little plug for this weekend?
No.
Okay.
I'm good.
I have nothing. Joy?
No.
And I'm going to take a pass. Citizens wishing to address the board. I have Carol Miller, Port Huron Township Animal Control.
Good afternoon, everybody. Animal control is an entity for the entire county, so I'm addressing the whole board on this, not just Carrie. Many of you from previously, when I was involved with animal control under the sheriff, knew that we were in there all the time. People came in and wanted to see the animals or go through a tour. We had no problem with that. I did ask to be taken on a tour. I was declined. I don't know why. But I'd like to ask how many of you on the board here, and Mr. Fletcher, how many of you guys have actually physically gone into animal control in the last year? Anybody? I think it would behoove you to take and go there unannounced and ask to take and be taken on a tour just to see what you're voting on. I know you're trying to make changes to the place, but you need to see what's going on in there. There's a lot of issues that my sister and I are still, and other members of our group, are still getting messaged about. Phones not being answered and things like that. Carrie, one of the things I brought up probably about 2-3 months ago was an animal being placed in the dumpster that had been deceased. And I had asked that you have education for law enforcement. I never heard anything back. I don't know if you had Melissa educate the law enforcement on what to do if they have a deceased animal and they can't get into animal control. But I'd like that to be addressed. Also, you made mention, when I mentioned microchip readers, you assumed that I meant for every car in the county. I'm a financially responsible person. I would never assume myself to do that. What I had asked for is that every fire department, whether it be volunteer or full-time people, to have a microchip reader so these sheriff deputies, state police officers, and all the small entities that have police departments can take the animal and have that's lost or deceased and just have it scanned. They're not that expensive. And to have one at each place would save the county and the taxpayers a lot of money of having to pay for gas and running an animal here and running an animal there. You know, if they're out in K-Pac or Emmett, to drive them all the way into animal control to have them scanned, it's a waste of money. Also, on social media, there was a post and somebody complained openly that they couldn't get a hold of animal control, that nobody would answer the phone. And a person from animal control Control answered and said that it's easier to get an answer by getting an email sent. It's faster than getting a phone call answer. I find that really hard to believe, but I'm still getting messages quite regularly that people are not answering the phones out there. So that's one of them. Also, there was a social media post about euthanasia, a family that was almost 20 years old. The person took it there.
Okay, you need to wrap it up.
Yeah, when they were taking the animal out, they were not allowed to be with the animals, so I don't know what the process is with that, why they can't be with the animals. So if you could address that so we know what to answer to people when they question it, we appreciate it. Thank you, everybody.
Libby Pearl, 6177 Trip Road, China.
Well, I apologize for being tardy. Good evening. I just have some general comments. I'm not even really here to complain about anything. I appreciate that Dave Rushing explained a few weeks ago about the issue in Cotterville not really being, the purview of this particular board. But, we're all residents of the same little patch of earth on this planet, and I think we all have to be concerned about, what is going on in every community around us and not just what goes on from our own, what we can see from our own front porch. In Cotterville, I've been hearing from some of the residents there that really had no idea that that their community board was going to approve an industrial corridor there. And they're quite upset after the fact, not really paying attention until they see something on Facebook that then shoots up a lot of big red flags for them. So more than just for this board, it's really for the community. If anybody's watching or whoever's in the audience, you can't be apathetic, and you can't just sit on your front porch and just think that somebody else is going to see to your best interest. And if you want to enjoy life at my age, it's because you invest in creating a culture and an environment in your younger years so that you're going to be able to enjoy these older years. So at my age, I want to be home canning and cooking and crocheting. I mean, I'm late because I was crocheting angels, for charity, and I'd sure like to be in my recliner right now doing the same. But that doesn't do anything to set up a better world for my grandchildren or my great-grandchildren or whoever else down the line. So I encourage everyone out there that has a concern, get up, get dressed, attend your community meetings, come up here and attend these county meetings. I've been at odds with people on this board and can still hold a pleasant conversation and, not name call and get into it. It's a very diverse population. We all have a lot of different interests, but we can coexist. So I encourage everyone to take more interest in what's going on around them. I'm here also tonight, concerned with the ARPA funds. I hope that you push forward with that. And I hope that going forward you keep in mind that industry and country culture and small town culture, we can coexist, but there has to be mutual respect. You can't say that I'm looking for revenue, but the people who enjoy that quiet country life and their chickens and their sheep have to sacrifice that country life to provide jobs for our county, Macomb County, any county. Put industry where it belongs, and let's just leave the country alone. Thank you.
Okay, moving on. Item 11, unfinished business. It's just tabled. It'll remain on the table. Item 12A, approval of county disbursements.
This time I move to approve the July 2023 county disbursements in the amount of $11,871,549.86.
Support. Baldwin?
Discussion. Roll call.
Commissioner Baldwin?
Yes.
Commissioner Beeden?
Yes.
Commissioner Trello?
Yes.
Commissioner Rushing?
Yes.
Mr. Vandenbosch?
Yes.
Commissioner Chairperson Ball?
Yes. Item B.
At this time, I'd like to make a motion to approve the contract with Rethinking Libraries for the development of a strategic plan for the library in the amount not to exceed $28,300.
Support.
I think this is a good next step for them now that we know where the building, a lot of time in the last 2 years have been spent on where's the library going, so on and so forth. We boy, we exhausted any and every alternative, and then
Bless you.
then they just finally said, we're gonna stay here and fix the building and stuff, so, this is well needed. Roll call.
Commissioner Beeden?
Yes.
Commissioner Trello?
Yes.
Commissioner Rushing?
Yes.
Commissioner Vandenbach?
Yes.
Commissioner Baldwin?
Yes.
Commissioner Chairperson Ball?
Yes. Item C.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to increase the amount of the agreement with Overdrive for the library ebook and audiobook subscription services by the amount of $127,000.
Support, Beeden?
Discussion. Roll call.
Commissioner Trello?
No.
Commissioner Rushing?
Yes.
Commissioner Vandenbosch?
Yes.
Commissioner Baldwin?
Yes.
Commissioner Beeden?
Yes.
Commissioner Chairperson Ball?
Yes. Item D, the Health Department Plan of Organization.
At this time, I'd like to make a motion to approve the Health Department Plan of Organization.
Support, Beeden?
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Item E.
At this time, I'd like to make a motion to reappoint Michael McCartan to the Library Board, District 4, for a 5-year term expiring August 26, 2028.
Support.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Item F.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve the 2022 Homeland Security Grant Program interlocal funding agreement between Macomb and St. Clair counties in the amount of $297,643.
Support.
Discussion. Just a grant. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Item G.
At this time, I'd like to make a motion to approve the addendum to the Law Enforcement Services Agreement with the Port Huron Area School District, adding an additional school resource officer, increasing the amount of the agreement by $209,817 for a term of July 1st of 2023 through June 30th of 2025.
Support. Baldwin?
Discussion. Roll call.
Commissioner Rushing?
Yes.
Commissioner Vandenbosch?
Yes.
Commissioner Baldwin?
Yes.
Commissioner Beeden?
Yes.
Commissioner Trello?
Yes.
Commissioner Chairperson Ball?
Yes. Item H.
This time, I'd like to make a motion to approve the contract with OnSolve for a mass notification alert system subscription for emergency management for a term of 9/17/23 through 12/31/24 in the amount of $38,574.64.
Support.
Discussion. Roll call.
Commissioner Vandenbosch?
Yes.
Commissioner Baldwin?
Yes.
Commissioner Beeden?
Yes.
Commissioner Trello?
Yes.
Commissioner Rushing?
Yes.
Commissioner Chairperson Ball?
Yes. Item I.
This time I move to approve the fiscal year 2024 Crime Victims' Right Program Grant Agreement in the amount of $175,289.
Support.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Item J.
At this time, I'd like to make a motion to approve the fiscal year 2024 Emergency Management Program Grant Work Agreement.
Support, Beeden?
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Item K.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to adopt Resolution 2316, revising the Criminal Indigent Defense Council rate of pay for the St. Clair County Public Defender's Office.
Support.
Discussion. Roll call.
Commissioner Baldwin?
Yes.
Commissioner Beeden?
Yes.
Commissioner Trello?
Yes.
Commissioner Rushing?
Yes.
Commissioner Vandenbosch?
Yes.
Commissioner Chairperson Ball?
Yes. Item L.
This time, I'd like to make a motion to adopt Resolution 23-18, pledging full faith and credit for the Howe Brandymore Drainage District bonds.
Support.
Discussion.
Baldwin?
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Item M.
This time I move to approve the addition of a full-time deputy to the Sheriff's Office manning table.
Support.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Item N, ARPA funds discussion. So I'm going to, Carrie, you want to start off?
So at the committee meeting, there was some discussion among commissioners to allocate the remaining ARPA funds, and that discussion revolved around allocating an amount to each district, similar to what had been done prior. and then the remaining portion to set aside for Health Department relocation along with other public improvement projects. I believe that was the gist of the discussion at the last meeting.
Yeah, and one of the things, and I know we're going to talk about dollar amounts and stuff, but one of the things that we have to be very cognizant of is the agreements. And there are a lot more restrictions on these particular funds and what they can be spent on. I know you've got copies of some revised agreements in front of you. We even had some conversation about, do we need to bring a consultant on board? Do they pay? Because what I'm afraid of is a good majority of we have 31 cities, townships, and villages, and probably 2/3 of them are going to struggle, right, with the paperwork. And what I don't want to do is create a ton of additional work for administration. We're already got our hands full with a lot of these ARPA funds, a lot of these construction projects that we have going on, you know, those types of things. So I would like to see a dollar amount that we could, you know, allocate per district, but then I would also I guess, talk a little bit about the consultant. Do we have our administration vet the consultants, and then we pick a particular consultant that they're going to work with somewhere along the line? Otherwise, it's going to be willy-nilly, and it's going to be tough. So, any thoughts?
Doesn't MAC have a list of approved consultants that we can just utilize? They do have 4 pre-qualified consultants, and there are already contracts for those consultants on the MAC cooperative that we would be able to join on those without doing our own RFP.
Oh, I like that a lot.
What I really appreciate about the way these subrecipient agreements are written out is that it seems really long, but there's an awful lot of detail to each section, so that you're not forced to define yourself what you think a drug-free workforce or workplace is, because it's already defined there. So you're not having the subrecipients have to try and find that information on their own, even with a consultant. So I mean, it looks like a lot, but I think there's also just heavier definitions in it per section that normally, you know, it's not just a checklist. There's a very specific definition to each section that needs to be filled out. So I do like that part of it.
I'm all set. I'd like $1 million each. We talked 750,000, $1 million. I'm ready to make a decision if we're ready to do that. I've already done a lot of homework on this, so I'm good to go on this. So as far as paperwork, I can get that covered. So
Do we agree on the, I guess, on the consultant piece of it too?
I agree with that.
Any other discussion?
Do we have all the county needs handled?
So if we take $1 million per district, that'll leave us $9.8 million for the conversion of the health department building. Then they have some fund balance, correct me if I'm wrong, that they're able to put forward towards that. That's still going to be about 6 months out or so on that. If we're going to know, but to your point, I don't want to spend all the money, then we got to come back and go, oopsie, you know.
We've got some, our Marine Division alone has boats as old as Commissioner Beeden, or older.
They are young, fine boats.
Freshly restored. Yeah, so well, with the 9.8, and we don't have the number on the health department thing yet. Are you confident, Carrie, in if we made that decision that you could, figure everything else out? I guess
Yep, certainly. We could work within whatever parameters the board sets for us.
Well, and there wouldn't be anything prohibiting a commissioner from, if there was a project within the county, you could use it for that as well. I mean, our districts are the entire county also, right? So if you didn't have $1 million, or I didn't have it, between Fort Gratiot and Birchville, if there wasn't, it doesn't preclude me from putting some toward the Marine Division.
Correct, but I was hoping we would make sure all of our county needs are handled first.
Sure. Well, so based on and I wasn't at the last meeting, but on the, how we, based on our past conversation, without making the motion, I could read how this came from the last, and would that be helpful to see kind of the starting point? So to allocate a certain amount to each district, subject to the terms and conditions of a subrecipient agreement, and to allocate the balance remaining in amount such as to facilitate the move of the health department to the administration building and those capital improvement projects previously presented to this board on the recommendation of the administrator controller. Is what came out of the work session, or the committee meeting, sorry.
I would add to that, we did receive new capital improvement because the board did already allocate 7 million to those existing projects, and there are some new projects that came forward. So if you would consider making the motion that those new projects could be considered as well.
Okay, so in those capital improvement projects, as could be presented, essentially county internal projects is what we're talking about. The remainder is health department and internal county projects.
Because we had a township supervisor fall this week in going up a set of stairs in our emergency management building. That we're on a second floor for emergency management, which blows my mind. That we have to go upstairs every time we have a meeting. Makes no sense.
There could be a vacant building on the south end of Port Huron in the next 6 months that we could move to.
With all sorts of stairs.
I know they've been looking at some alternatives for homeless care. I know Carrie's been in discussions with Justin about that, possible relocation, those types of things. I agree with you. We don't want to cut ourselves short, and I guess if Carrie was confident that that number was, good for her, I have dealt with her a long time, and, I trust her, opinion. What's the fund balance at the health department?
I believe their unrestricted fund balance is around 6 million.
Which some of those funds, if not technically all of them, could be used to do a retrofit on the health department building, correct?
Well, you would want to keep a portion in fund balance for cash flow reasons within the county's fund balance policy. So you would want to keep at least $1 million in their fund balance for cash flow.
Okay. Any other discussion?
I'm not sure in your motion, are we going to be setting a set amount for each commissioner then?
I think that would be the motion right now.
At this time, I'd like to make a motion to allocate $1 million to each of the 7 county commissioner districts, subject to the terms and conditions of a subrecipient agreement, and to allocate the balance remaining in an amount such as to facilitate the move of the health department to the admin building and those capital improvement projects as presented to this board on the recommendation of the administrator controller.
Definitely support.
Any more discussion? Roll call.
Commissioner Beeden,
Yes.
Commissioner Torello,
Yes.
Commissioner Rushing,
Yes.
Commissioner Vanden Bosch,
No.
Commissioner Baldwin,
Yes.
Commissioner Chairperson Bowman.
Yes. Item item O.
At this time, I'd like to approve the contract for legislative consulting services with Midwest Strategy Group of Michigan, LLC, for a term of 9/1/23 through 8/31/25 in the amount not to exceed $168,000.
Support. Baldwin.
So I don't know if Georgia told you at the last, but we had a committee set up. It was Georgia, myself, Lisa, Carrie. We interviewed 3 out of the 4. The one was just way out of left field, and everybody picked the same group, so it was unanimous.
Yeah. The second, that Dykma, I was just in a Zoom meeting with SEMCOG, and SEMCOG uses Dykma. They're a phenomenal group as well. They're heavily federal, and I think we kind of determined that we have access to some federal if we need it, but those 2 really stood out at the top, but I think we'll be very well served with Midwest.
Any other discussion? Roll call.
Commissioner Torello,
Yes.
Commissioner Rushing,
Yes.
Commissioner Vanden Bosch,
Yes.
Commissioner Baldwin,
Yes.
Commissioner Beeden,
Yes.
Commissioner Chairperson Bowman.
Yes. Item P.
At this time, I'd like to make a motion to approve the contract for the library roof replacement with J.D. Candler in the amount not to exceed $325,000.
Support, Beeden.
That's better than what I thought. So,
Do we know a timeline on when they?
I believe once this contract is signed, assuming we can get the proper materials, that work can start next month.
Okay, yeah, we'll need it. Roll call?
Commissioner Rushing?
Yes.
Commissioner Vanden Bosch?
Yes.
Commissioner Baldwin?
Yes.
Commissioner Beeden?
Yes.
Commissioner Trello?
Yes.
Commissioner Chairperson Bone?
Yes. Item Q.
This time, I move to adopt Resolution 23-17, Order of Determination to alter the boundaries of the Village of Capac.
Support? Baldwin?
Discussion. All,
Just a little, because Capac is the hub of all the
that's
great
your old
high school
stomping
graduates.
grounds. Yeah.
73. And I did talk with the township on this, so I had a better understanding. And Muncie Township also put a resolution out, because I'm always concerned that General Law Township gets annexed, but everybody's on board with this. So.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Item R.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve the 2023 Bryan Memorial Justice Assistant Grant Program application in the amount of $33,172.
Support.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Item 13, the administrator's report.
Earlier this week at the retirement board, the actuaries were there and they presented our annual valuations. So it's what's not expected is our funding percentage did go down based on the 15% loss we had last year in assets. So our funding position for the pension plan went down from 89% down to 88% on an actuarial basis, but on a market basis, it's funded at 78%. As you'll recall, gains and losses are smoothed over a 5-year period, so you have a market value of assets and your actuarial value of assets. Our required contribution is based on that actuarial value of assets. It's an industry practice, and that's how it's done all over. So that equates to approximately 9% increase in our required contribution for the 2024 budget, which is about $430,000. Now, our healthcare trust actually did a little bit better. Our funding for that went up from 55% to 64%. And that increase, while they did experience an investment loss, we also had very favorable experience in our claims in our insurance rates. So that contributed to that gain. So as part of the Retiree Healthcare Trust, as you know, we do have a quarterly committee that meets. That's myself and 3 commissioners to review those investment assets. So during the meeting and at the retirement board, we do have representatives from the Road Commission and CMH there, as those 2 entities contribute to these funds. So I do have a suggestion that perhaps we either change the makeup of that committee or expand it to include members of the Road Commission and CMH. I would propose Karen Farr, their finance director at CMH, and Tammy Holzberg, their finance director at the Road Commission, to review those assets quarterly so they can also be updated how their funds are doing.
I will gladly step aside.
Won't break my heart.
So appointments to that committee is an appointment of this board, so it would require formal action for me to change that committee makeup if that's what you would like to do.
Do you have a format on that? Do you need a motion tonight potentially, or do you want to give us a format so we have the format?
I can certainly bring it as a formal item at the September meeting. Since they meet quarterly, it's not that time sensitive. I just wanted to see if that's something the board would be interested in doing.
Still keep it the 3, not expand, right?
Yeah, we could swap out the commissioners.
Right now, we're on that committee.
Or certainly if commissioners want to attend, we could still have commissioners on the committee as well. It's whatever you prefer. Our agenda software that I spoke about last month that project is going forward. We hope to have our new agenda software implemented by year end. As part of that, in order to convert all of our old information that's in Novus to the new system, unfortunately, it's very manual and labor intensive, so we probably are going to be bringing on a student worker for a couple months to download and convert all those files. That way, citizens can still go back and search old agendas and not have to sort through multiple different programs to find them. As you can see, it's a bit stuffy in here tonight, but the RFP on our chillers is due back Monday next week, so we do hope to have a recommendation to you on your September agenda. We are also working on a security camera project for this building. We had a vendor come through and do a walkthrough, so we will be getting some quotes. Depending what that quote looks like, it'll determine if we need to do a formal RFP process or not. But we're looking to get some basic security camera coverage in this building. Interviews for the architect for the health department move project have been happening this week, with the rest tomorrow. So we will also have a recommendation for you on the architect on your September agenda, so we can get that project moving forward. Quick update on the courthouse elevator project, in case some of you have heard from members in the courthouse. I know it's been frustrating with the age of the elevators. Unfortunately, the orange elevator is currently out of service, and we've determined that it's really not safe to repair at this point. People have been getting stuck. We were hoping that the project would be complete right now, but our vendor has still waiting on a couple parts. But at this point, they have told us that work should begin on the orange elevator at the beginning of September, and then once that's complete and fully functional and online, then the other elevator the work will start on that elevator as well. And we are currently working on the 2024 budget. It's early in the process, but we are going through all the items. And as part of that, I know at a prior meeting, Commissioner Baldwin, you had asked that perhaps we review some of the dues and memberships. Would the board like to have that brought forward as a formal separate item next month to review on what you would want to include in the budget, or do you want to just see that as part of the budget presentation?
I don't think it hurts to review.
Okay.
Did a white paper sheet on it, what
Yeah.
we're part of, you know, that kind of stuff. And there again, I don't want to micromanage you to death on stuff like that either, so.
No, so we can put on your next month's committee agenda just a listing of all of those memberships and dues, and then the board can determine if there's any that they feel are no longer relevant.
Right. Yeah, if there's anything that's either a duplication, or if there's anything that's being done that can be done in-house, or something that's no longer relevant.
Okay. And that's all I have this evening, unless there's questions.
No, I was just gonna make a comment. If you've been on those elevators over at the courthouse, those things are about 100 years old. Every time you jump in them things, you're like,
Their IT isn't much better over there either, because it's going down on the daily basis. So
I'm
we're
sorry.
gonna have to do something about the IT over there.
yeah.
'Cause
Well,
when-
you have ARPA funding, and we're welcome any of those projects.
Motion to receive and file administrator's report.
So moved.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed?
Opposed.
Miscellaneous business.
I just have one question or maybe comment, but so occasionally it comes up that we appoint people to some of these committees and the advisory committees and that type of thing. And we don't all sit on all of them. Would there be any interest, or could we discuss maybe getting a recommendation from those committees? I don't know their makeup. I don't know what kind of impact, but since we seem to now be getting multiple volunteers to sit on these boards, has there ever been any discussion of having like the Veteran Affairs Board to have them look at? So we look at an application, we hear from someone for 3 minutes, we make a decision of someone who's going to sit on that board and meet with those people monthly. So I just want to throw it out there. It would be interesting to me to see if those boards, those people who are there every month, had any, wanted to have their voice known before we appoint someone or not. So just I'd throw it out there. Thanks.
Okay, any other miscellaneous business? Item 15, receive and file.
This time, I'd like to make a motion to receive and file packets that were sent to commissioners, packets at their places, and any other information presented.
All in favor?
Aye.
Item 16, adjournment.
Motion to adjourn, Baldwin?
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.